Welcome to this next episode of YouTube, where I do feature some late evening filming up in the enclosure, and I thought I'd take a moment to kind of explain what the procedure is now with the pups. We do feed the pups, or try to feed the pups every morning and every evening, and when I say try, it's a little bit of a challenge. Sometimes they're not hungry and they're fairly finicky. We might offer 3 or 4 different types of food before they really decide what they want. And we have a little bit of an issue with Denali, who is really acting more like a big juvenile than anything else. The Aiden has no problem watching the pups eat, not intervening. You know, he might try to come up and get something and waits for us to hand it to him. Denali is all over the food for the pups. So what you're seeing here is us just giving a little bit of a kibble distraction. So while we're trying to feed the pups a little bit more meat, we lay kibble kind of throughout the enclosure, and you'll see Denali working on just about every pile that we have. So as I said, I had to resort to late evening filming because temperatures were in the high 80s and even into the 90s, which meant that the pups were sleeping pretty much all day long. So we had to wait till about 7 p.m. really to try to get them filmed. This is Bolts up on the den, Luna coming up to greet, and Aiden on the left, Aiden on the right and Denali on the left, and doing what we call pack rally. There's some tail wagging, some investigation. Luna, again, being very active and wrestling with Bolts. And here's a situation where Bolts is doing a scruff bite and a little bit of a ride up, trying to get a response from her to socially engage. And Aiden, obviously, always watching the pups. He's turning and blocking Denali there, and really has become a great pack leader to these pups. Luna has been hot. This black coat growing a winter pelage, and the black coloration just absorbing so much more heat. She's been having a much harder time in these temperatures, and it is very difficult. Obviously, we still are open to the public who wants to see the wolves several times a day. Staff are working to try to get them up after the 11 o'clock program, the 1 o'clock, and the 3 o'clock program. But we are very mindful of the influence of getting those pups up so frequently in this heat. We've been putting the tub in that they had when they were pups, putting it right at the gate, letting them paw around in it. And that was a novelty for a couple of days, but at this point, basically, we are just seeing activity early in the morning or late at night. And so this is, again, about 7 o'clock when I started filming this. So in the upper enclosure, again, you see lots of caches, deer hides. This is Denali coming to the camera again. The pups are constantly finding food and hide and meat and feeding on that, which makes it a little bit difficult when we try to lock them off and give them, a pound or 2 of cooked meat or raw venison or whatever they choose to eat that day. They're coming in sometimes to holding not very hungry, so it's making it a little bit challenging. We are having to pace Luna, which means that she's not eating her supplement in any kind of a ground mix, so we're having to use a pace like we did when she was a pup, and that's continuing to be her least favorite activity. So this is a view from up in the upper enclosure. This is the den hole that the pups do go into during the heat of the day, so they do get some relaxation. What I want you to note here is Bolts is digging up a cache, and Denali's coming over to kind of investigate. Aiden does a little bit of a block and a threat display to Denali, and that gives Bolts enough time to grab that cache and to take off with it. But if you look at Aiden's tail, see that little crook at the base of his tail? Again, that's just a little bit of a status thing. He's clearly gaining some status over Denali, and he's, again, protecting those pups whenever possible. So he's going to go dig up the cache. The other thing to notice here is just how dry it is. We had obviously some rain in June, but we are really below precipitation levels here and real dry. So we're hoping that we don't move into another fire season this fall like we did last fall. But as I said, the pups are doing well. I believe I didn't get a weight on Luna this morning because she wouldn't come into holding, but by tomorrow I would expect that she's going to be 50 pounds. She's been not growing as much as we'd like. Neither Bolts nor Luna are growing as much as we like, although Bolts is running, I think this last weight was something to the effect of 65 pounds or something like that. And like I said, Luna was just teetering on 49 pounds. Yeah, Bolts was 65 and a quarter. The last time we weighed him, we expect him to be a lot more. The heat has been a little bit of a problem. As soon as we get some nice cool fall weather, we expect them to probably continue increasing their food consumption and then putting a lot more weight on. Although, certainly these are healthy pups, they're active pups, and obviously Luna has her opportunities to be dominant over Bolts. One thing that we do notice is that Bolts is fairly timid when the two adult males start doing a little bit of dominance. If they start growling, and this is Denali over here again trying to get involved and posture a little bit. Actually, he's trying to steal what Bolts had, which is, like I said, they're going to do a little bit of a tug of war, a little growl there. Luna's going to come in and try to help Bolts pull that away from Denali. Denali's a powerful, powerful wolf, and this is a little bit odd. Normally the adults respect the personal space of the pups and the food of the pups, and Denali is not doing that, respecting that. So we're going to, one thing I'm going to do is just run a fecal on him and just make sure that we're not dealing with a parasite issue, a tapeworm or something that makes him so hungry and so food defensive. This wolf will eat every day anything that you feed him, and so I will want to rule out parasites and then be able to assess that this is just a behavioral problem with Denali. So you can see the pups running with some food, Denali running after him, Aiden just kind of watching, and here comes Luna and Bolts, and again Aiden's going to go up and block Denali, and then Denali sees him and doesn't even come down after the pups. So you see a lot of that where Aiden's moving his body in between Denali and the pups, and Aiden's tail's going up into a T2 tail posture, and you can see Denali's head drops and his tail drops, and he's going to move out and go, find something else. So we are watching that pretty closely. We anticipate that between Denali and Aiden, things are going to get a little bit more confrontational. And this is a threat display. And actually, Aiden was blocking me with the camera, so keeping Denali away from me. Which has got its benefits. Certainly when my hands are full and I'm dealing with trying to feed the pups, it's nice to have somebody blocking Denali from me. But most of the time, as I said, we are, kind of dealing with that feeding issue. But the one thing the heat has also done is brought back the flies, which we were kind of winding down in the fly season. Now we're kind of in full swing again. And Aiden's developed a little bit of shyness towards it, so have adopted the same method that we use in retirement, which is spray it on a rock and let them scent roll, and hopefully get that fly ointment on them that way. The pups, we can put fly ointment on the pups. We can put, fly ointment on Denali. It's just that Aiden's a little bit timid about it, and so we hope the fly season will subside as the temperatures cool off here. It's only a matter of time before we get into a fall season and we don't have to deal with those issues. So that's what's kind of going on in the exhibit pack. In retirement, again, I think a lot of people want to know that Grizzer's doing okay, and certainly we, see him hot and bothered as well. He does have the benefit of the pond, which is kind of his waiting area, and he's really got a hole dug by the pond. He's grown his winter coat back, and you can actually see on that scar on the top of his head, the hair is already covering it, which is how it stays warm over winter. So he's getting enough of a winter coat to be able to cover the top of his head there. But what Grizzer's favorite thing to do is to interact with staff, and so we always want to make sure that no matter how much time the puppies take, that Grizzer gets his fair share of staff time, and that is how I think a lot of people hopefully see the relaxation that we see when we interact with him. He's doing well. He gets to engage. He gets to run. He gets to jaw spar with Oscar through the fence. He gets to watch from top of the den how the other pack members are doing. But our biggest probably interaction with him is in this relaxed mode, scratching the top of his head, checking him out, making sure that there's no issues, and just overall, giving him positive reinforcement for submitting. So that's pretty much our relationship with Grizzer until Oscar comes out the door and then he gets up. So the retirees are getting a lot of sprinkler time. It's too hot for 12-year-olds, and so we have the hose on them on a regular basis, and they wet themselves down and cool themselves down, and that makes them, again, deal with these temperatures. The younger ones really can handle the heat better than 12-year-olds. Winter coats are starting to come in, but certainly the pups have the most significant winter coat. Grizzer comes next, then Denali, then Aiden, and then Shadow, and finally Malik. We know that it's fall, even though it's hot, because we're seeing a lot more RLUs, a lot more marking, a lot more scraping the ground. This is Malik doing a full leg scrape to broadcast his scent. And then his tail goes up as Shadow hears the scraping on the ground and kind of approaches to see what's the dominance, what's going on. So Malik kind of circles around. Shadow has got his ears pricked to the side and kind of back because Malik's behind him. We thought he would come over and do an overmark, that is a behavior where they mark or urinate on top of another wolf's marking, again, to mark that scent. He doesn't. He investigates, and then what he does is he comes over and postures. You'll notice how his tail goes up into a T2 tail, and then he starts following. So we know that, again, fall's on the way when we start to see following behavior. The next behaviors are chin rests, and then after that, ride-ups, and then after that, jaw spars and face-offs, those kinds of things. So I want to note that we did post the Working for Wolves for the fall. We will have an opportunity for people to spend the night in the auditorium on Friday night so that people can get a close-up view of the pups, and hopefully we'll have snow by then so we can see them. The other activities for Working for Wolves are going to be some burning projects, as well as getting rid of some of the hazards that might impact Luna as she runs and chases and interacts in this pack. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.